Hello everyone. Today's video is about the Dino Polska Company. It's a Polish large cap retail company which grew 10 times since the IPO on the Warsaw Stock Exchange in 2017. I'll provide the company profile, share deep dive materials, and finally we'll take a look inside one of the local Dino stores. In 2025, Poland was one of the top performers in the emerging markets group. This doesn't mean that the stocks are expensive, and I believe that we have a lot of investment opportunities in Poland for 2026. It is important to note that the MSCI Poland is a relatively young large cap index that has historically been cyclical and dominated by the financial sector and companies with significant government stakes. For me, the EPOL ETF is uninteresting because of its construction, and there are some companies within it that I would simply avoid. However, I do own 3 companies from this index, and Dino is currently my largest position. For full disclosure, these are my current investments on Warsaw Stock Exchange. Top 3 holdings are companies which can be found in the MSCI Poland index. Rainbow Tours is a mid-cap company, and now I'm also building a position in the mid and small-cap ETFs to get broader exposure on the Polish market. Also, in the long run, small and mid-caps were outperforming the large caps. The last few years have been remarkable for Poland, and here we can see how it compares to the SPY and the Qs in the US dollar terms. To be clear, small and mid-cap ETFs are total return ETFs, but the dividends are included for the other ETFs, so I think it gives a good overview. Note that if we look at the same chart in the Polish zloty, the difference is significant as the PLN was strengthening versus the US dollar, which is an important factor when you're trying to invest in Poland. With all the stock rally, Dino is one of the companies which stock price did nothing for nearly 2 years. Red line marks my average price, and the red boxes mark my accumulation areas. Overall, I'm willing to continue accumulation below 41, as I don't think the fundamentals are bad. We're just getting a slower growth, and compressed valuation metrics reflect that. We can take a look at the stock unlock valuation history chart. The vertical line marks the point from March 2023, which the price was the same as we are having today. As we can see, the valuation was compressing, and I think it's a fair reaction as the growth was slowing down. However, I don't think anything bad is happening with the company. It's just grows so big that now it grows slower. Of course, there are more details to that. We're not going to do a deep dive financials in this video, but just looking at the year-over-year growth, we can see how much the growth has decelerated in terms of the revenue. Previously, we were seeing like 20 to 50% growth year over year. Now it's like 13-15%. And I think it's realistic to expect that level of growth. Of course, many other financial aspects has changed, like very large debt reduction and so on. But we're not going to cover those details. I will share the link for more detailed analysis of the financials. Let's get into the company. First of all, Dino has a network of nearly 3,000 stores and continues the expansion by adding about 200 to 400 stores per year. To give context, Poland in terms of area is slightly larger than the Arizona state, but has a population of 38 million. The biggest opportunity is to expand on the eastern, north, and south side, but Dino keeps adding new stores also in the areas which look quite dense, and I see it in the area even where I live. And I live in the village right next to one of the major Polish cities. They opened a store not far away from me and opening the next one in 2026 a few kilometers away. Also, Dino is doing a little bit of business in large cities, but the primary focus is outside of large cities. They are targeting attractive areas, mostly in the villages and towns. A common misconception I hear is that Dino is just a village store and people are moving from villages to large cities, so it will be a declining business soon. Migration part is true, but this concept is wrong as it ignores the large city suburban areas, including the one I live. Here we can see general company metrics with the additional links, which I will also include in the description. The most important facts. Dino is still controlled by the founder, Tomasz Biernacki. Market cap is around $11 billion. The company went public on the Warsaw Stock Exchange in 2017. By the way, the GPW is an original Polish acronym for our stock exchange. Also, it is worth noting that significant institutions like Goldman Sachs have a stake in the company and they were increasing their position in 2025. And now, let's visit the store. Just a note that I took the video during the slow hours to respect people's privacy and so you can see more of the store itself.
Złoty 95. Mąka toptowa Basia od 1 do 1,1 kg. Dwa rodzaje, tylko 2,89 za sztukę przy zakupie 3. Najniższa cena z 30 dni przed obniżką 2,92. Mąka toptowa Polska mała 450 g plus 50 g.
I hope the clip gave you a good overview of the typical Dino store. Now, let's take a round on the important highlights. First of all, unlike its competitors, Dino in general owns the land where the stores are located rather than leasing it. Also, they built the store with the solar panels to improve the efficiency, and electricity is quite expensive in Europe. Also, just by the way, they are getting extra points in the ESG ranks, which is important for some ETFs and institutional investors. Majority of the store look the same and are built under one of the two layouts depending on the land shape they could acquire. Just to note that there are stores which diverge from this original model, especially if they are inside the city. Here we're seeing Dino integrated on the ground floor of the apartment complex, and this one is quite bold move as they built a store right next to one of its major competitors, Biedronka. Both are from the city of Wrocław, the capital of the Lower Silesia district. Next unique aspect is that they have their own meat supply as they own the company named Valuaiton. Here we can see the meat inside the store. Let's take a final look at the store internals before we jump to the investment setup for the 2026. First general aspect when it comes to investment in Poland is the currency and the risk that comes with it. Since the war fear peak in the 2022, the currency is strengthening relative to major world currencies. From my perspective, the PLN is now quite strong, but has a bit more space to strengthen further. This is quite typical situation for the stable economy and the stable global environment. Of course, you can say the dollar is weak due to various factors, but I don't want to go into the currency debate. I think that our currency will stay strong unless there are some major disruptive events like the Russian invasion on Ukraine in 2022. So overall, the setup is neutral from this perspective, and the US or Canadian investors rather can't expect much of an extra currency tailwind, like in the periods where for $1 you could get 4 or more zlotys. I gathered here a key business aspects to keep in mind when considering the investment. It is important to note that the analysts expect improved like-for-like sales, slight operating margin improvements, and slower minimum wage growth in Poland. So from my perspective, these are the tailwinds priced in. I'm overall optimistic, but I wouldn't bet too much on those, especially that the LFL sales for 2025 weren't as initially expected. It is also good that the company was slower during the high inflation period and reduced its debt ratio, so they are better positioned for further expansion and investments. And I'm expecting the acceleration of store openings and going beyond 300 new stores a year. It was also good to see that the insiders were buying the stock recently and the valuation itself is no longer stretched. Also, as Dino grows, they might get into a better negotiation position for large volume orders. Finally, there are speculations on the dividends for 2026. And some people see this as a good thing, but from my perspective, I would prefer if they maintain their focus on growth. Also note that there is a strike risk, which if materialized, it would be resolved by increasing the wage growth and addressing some of the employee issues raised. So that could generate a bit of extra cost, but the good thing is that this may be already priced in because this information is known for a month. The employee I asked about it was not confident if it happens, so I don't want to speculate too much on this. Dino also recently registered their Dino Oil trademark, and they are hiring regional sales managers. I don't have a clear idea how they want to build or combine the network with or without the stores itself. Perhaps they want to buy a struggling mall gas stations and rework this for the model like the British Petroleum BP has together with Auchan here in Poland. Overall, low margins on fuel and high margins on the products and groceries. That would be a certain aspect of it, but I don't know exactly how this is going to be implemented or when this may have a noticeable impact on their financials. So this is to be seen. For sure, the model that the gas stations here are having with the grocery stores and all kind of products integrated with the gas station itself is very successful. It has good margins, so there's definitely an opportunity here. Also in 2024, Dino bought eZebra online beauty store in a transaction for 63 million zloty, so I guess around 4% of their annual net income. Again, this is something small, so I'm not sure if they have a bigger plan to leverage this acquisition somehow. If you are interested in this company, I encourage you to do further research, and I found a great deep dive video with a nice English dub available. It comes from Paweł Malik, the owner of Analysts portal. I highly respect Paweł and recommend his video. Another great individual analyst is Przemek Staniszewski, whose name can be easily remembered and spelled perfectly, probably by every native English-speaking person. But just in case, I will also provide link to his bio in the description. Overall, I highly recommend to follow him if you are interested in Polish companies. This was not a financial advice, I just wanted to give some highlights on the interesting Polish company. In the description, you can find the links which should give you a comprehensive package to make a full analysis. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, and let me know if you're interested in more Polish companies.